Welcome to another session of Health Intelligence. It's not your fault that you fat, but it is your responsibility to lose the weight. And the only thing that is stopping you is your lack of understanding. You will find that in any area of pain in your life, any area that you're struggling, it is simply a case of ignorance. It's just because you don't know what needs to be done for you to change that. And I'm going to focus more today on fats. When it comes to eating fat, traditionally, in the last 30 years, we have the fat lords that have been telling us that the more fat we eat, the fatter we get. And as much as we listen to these lords, the only thing that has become thinner is the size of our wallets. What's happened to our waistlines? Our waistlines have completely tripled. Now, there are 4 reasons why we eat food. Number 1, there's always 3 reactions. The first thing here when you eat food is energy. You need to get energized. If you feel you eat food and you feel like you need to go to sleep, then it means that's the wrong nutrition. Number 2, satiety. After you've eaten, you need to feel full. If you eat and you want or start craving more food, then it means it is the wrong food for you. Number 3, mental focus. If it's proper nutrition, straight away you will focus. But if you eat and you feel like you cannot focus, you feel like sleeping, it means it's the wrong food for you. Number 4, cravings. Anything that makes you crave more food, then chances are it is something that looks like food, but it tastes like food, but it has no nutrition at all. So this becomes the 4 things that you need to feel. Every time you eat, it becomes your marker. This is your checklist. Check how many of these do you get on that. And if you don't, then you need to relook at your nutrition plan. The last thing that I need you to look at here, we call it the teeth test. After eating, you take your tongue and all you're going to have to do is brush it against your teeth. If your teeth is smooth, it means it's good. If the teeth is rough, then in most cases it's because we have a lot of sugar. Now let's go to fat. Fat has a very bad rap. Fat has a very bad reputation when it comes to people. Why? Because 1, when you look at that piece of fat on a piece of meat, it's easier for you to think and equate it on coming and sticking on your backside. The second thing is because of the caloric content. If you look at the other micronutrients, carbohydrates and protein, for each gram you get 4 calories. Unlike fats, for 1 gram you get 9 calories. So the simplicity of understanding the calories, it makes it much easier for people to think that by eating fat, they're eating double the amount of food. They would rather replace it with carbohydrates. But the most important thing for you to understand here is, what is the hormonal response to the food that you're eating? You might eat carbohydrate which is less or half the calories that you get in your fats. But the hormonal cascade, the hormonal response, the cravings that you get after that, you're going to end up eating 3-4 more times more. So when it comes to fat, fat is essential for survival. There's 2 hormones that I need us to look at here. Number 1 is insulin. And then we have what we call glucagon. These hormones are inversely related. So if this was a liver, and you have the liver here, this is your glucagon, and this is your insulin. These hormones are inversely related. If one is up, the other one is down. Insulin is always released, it's a response to eating a lot of carbohydrates. Glucagon is a response to having less sugar in your bloodstream. So if you have a lot of insulin, what you have to understand here is insulin is a fat storing hormone. The more insulin you have in your bloodstream, the more fat that you have. Now, if these 2 hormones are inversely related, Then if insulin is your fat storing hormone, what is the function of glucagon? Then glucagon here becomes your fat burning hormone. Now, if we want to lose weight, we are in two states. Any given time, the human body is a hybrid. You either a fat burner or you are a sugar burner. Now remember, whatever state you're in hormonally determines if you're going to burn fat or you're going to store fat. So if you're eating sugary foods, if you're eating foods that are high in carbohydrates, and we're talking about bread, we're talking about rice, we're talking about jungle oats, we're talking about sweets. All those, anything that is carbohydrates that increases your insulin, automatically that makes you what? A sugar burner. So this sugar burner here is from a high carbohydrate eating plan. A fat burner is a low carbohydrate eating plan. What does this mean? This is the difference between 1, you losing weight, 2, you burning fat, 3, you keeping it off. You can burn fat easily by just reducing your caloric intake. But what will happen is, over time, you can't, because this is a caloric deficit, you're still going to get calories. Your body will shut you down. Your body will increase your cravings. And in doing that, automatically, you will end up eating more food in the end. And that's why you see a lot of people that are yo-yo dieters. They lose weight the first 3 weeks because they're starving themselves. Then after that, the willpower, like anything else, gets diminished after 3 weeks. They go back to the way they used to eat before. Now, because they have cravings, because the body wants more calories, and you cannot get more calories in healthy foods, and body increases your cravings, and cravings will always crave for your high fat, high sugar foods. You don't crave for eggs, you don't crave salads. We crave ice cream, we crave sweets, we crave chocolate. We crave all those things that are high sugar, high fat, and that automatically gets us into our sugar burning state. Now we need to get into your fat burning state. Now this is also applicable to people that are type 1 and type 2 diabetes. The main hormone when it comes to diabetes here is insulin. If you look at type 2 diabetic people, type 1 diabetic people are people that are either born without insulin, or the beta cells in their pancreas does not release insulin, and all of a sudden they have to inject insulin here. So remember, here is less insulin. They don't have enough insulin. And what are the physical characteristics of people that are type 1 diabetes? They always constantly thin. So what does that mean? It means that if there is less insulin in your bloodstream, you will maintain your body weight. People, type 1 diabetic people, they are losing weight constantly. That becomes one of the physical characteristics, one of the symptoms of somebody that is type 1 diabetic but does not understand. Then we have what we call type 2 diabetes. This is onset. They always call it adult onset diabetes, but unfortunately, we're getting a lot of this in kids now. What causes this? This is too much insulin. This is too much insulin. You become insulin insensitive. You've been releasing, because you're eating so much sugar, there's so much insulin being pumped into your body to a point where your pancreas cannot release enough insulin for it to be able to clear all the blood in your bloodstream. What are the characteristics of type 2 diabetic? All they have to do is look at food, and constantly they keep on growing big. So the key word here is insulin. Insulin becomes the key hormone that you have to understand if you want to lose and then regulate and then maintain your ideal body weight. What causes insulin? Insulin is an effect. What is the cause? The cause in most cases is the ingestion of any high sugar caloric foods or ingestion of too much calories at any given time. If you eat too much protein in one sitting and your body takes exactly what it needs, the rest has to be converted into carbohydrates and then it gets stored as fat. So insulin is a key hormone that we have to check here. If you look at how we treat insulin now, unfortunately, it does not work. You'll find majority of type 2 diabetic people, when you get diagnosed with insulin, the first thing the doctor will always do, they'll either put you on glucophage. They'll always put you on glucophage or metformin if you are in America. What does that mean? All they're trying to do is clear the amount of sugar, regulate the amount of sugar in your bloodstream. But what is the point of regulating the sugar in your bloodstream? Why not stop the sugar in your bloodstream going up? It's a simple case. The analogy I can give you here is you've got a leaking roof. And every time it rains, you buy a big bucket to collect the water. Is that the best solution to a leaking roof? Definitely not. The best solution is to patch up the roof rather than buying buckets. And what most people and most doctors are doing, or what most people type 2 diabetes are doing, is simply buying a bigger bucket by eating and then injecting, taking more IUs of insulin depending on how much sugar they ingested. So I need to go to the cause. The cause here is if we can reduce or cut down the amount of carbohydrates we're bringing in, automatically I'm going to be able to control your insulin. And if I can control your insulin, it means I'm going to stop the spiking. If there is no spike in your bloodstream, then there's no released insulin. And if insulin is not released, what is the function of insulin? The function of insulin is to what? Is to store fat. So if I can control insulin, if I can stop your body from releasing insulin, automatically I'm going to get into a fat burning state. And this is why the Dream Body Fitness eating plan is not a high fat diet. But what it does is we do not look at fat and expel it from our diet. Our key foundation here is protein, but fat plays a very big role. We're not going to demonize fat. Fat is going to be the best thing that we're going to use here to level your playing field. Fat will stop you from craving. Fat will stop you from being lethargic. Because those are the two problems, the two biggest causes why most people will always fall off any eating plan. If you're craving, or if you're feeling lethargic, you are forced to binge. And if you binge, you fall into the same cycle of going back and eating the food you're not supposed to, and mentally and psychologically you start breaking down, feeling worse. So if you have any questions, if there's anything here that you don't understand, remember, our eating plan is based on science, and it is based on how the human physiology works, the human endocrinological system. If you do not understand your hormones, you cannot control your body, because your body works on a hormonal system, and every single thing that you put in has to elicit a hormonal response. This is your coach, Manolo X from Dream Body Fitness. Catch you on the flip side. God bless you. I love you, lots.